wielding a bogus no-knock warrant. It was part of an event held by the Republican Women's Club of South Central Kentucky, who were hosting John Mattingly, one of 3 police officers who fired shots during the raid of Taylor's apartment. Mattingly was hit by a bullet fired by Ms. Taylor's boyfriend, who quite logically thought intruders were entering the apartment. Restaurant patrons were forced to hear and watch that heroic scene. One told NBC News that she heard actual gunshots in the videos and that they showed footage of Taylor's body, saying words can't even describe how absolutely disgusting it is what this group put on. Neither the Republicans of Kentucky nor the local Republican Women's Club has responded to NBC's request for comment. But the local club told Spectrum News before the dinner that, quote, these events may be controversial. However, we believe Sergeant Mattingly has the right to share his experience. That's something Mattingly has certainly done enough of, taking advantage of the killing to turn himself into a conservative media darling, doubling down on the events of that night. A few months after Taylor's death, he wrote an email to his colleagues saying, quote, I know we did the legal, moral, and ethical things that night. It's sad how the good guys are demonized and the criminals are canonized. He's gone on Megyn Kelly's show to attack the way media covered the case and to promote the book he's selling to profit off his role in the death. And he has a penchant for lawsuits, filing one against Taylor's boyfriend for assault and one for defamation against an attorney for calling Taylor's death a murder. Joining me now is Ryan Dearbone, president of the Bowling Green, Warren County branch of the NAACP. Mr. Dearbone, thank you for being here. I do want to read part of your statement on the incident, and it said the following: it is beyond reprehensible to subject anyone, let alone children and customers of African-American descent, to such indecent exposure, graphic and upsetting images while they were attempting to enjoy their meal. Are you aware of how many patrons were in that restaurant, in that Greek restaurant, and whether indeed there were children and African-American children at that present?
So to our best estimation, there were about 70 people that were downstairs in the restaurant, and about 80 people that were part of the Republican Party group. So we don't know that there were any children there, but we do know there were at least 2 African Americans in the room that were subjected to hearing the sounds and having their meal interrupted with something that they were not aware of when they first walked in the doors.
Now, and for those, we were having a little bit of a Zoom issue with you. For those who didn't hear, you said there were about 70 to 80, you said, patrons in the restaurant enjoying their meal and about 80 people at the event?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so what is the response in the community? Because there were protests outside. There are protests actually going on tonight, protests at the restaurant. My understanding is these are the protests that took place tonight, really in this hour. My understanding is that this was the second choice of this group of where to hold this protest. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am. Initially, they were supposed to be at the Bowling Green Country Club, but as some of the pressure rose from the statement we had put out initially denouncing the event, they ended up canceling. The country club said, no, we don't want to have you here for this event. So Anna's Greek Restaurant was the second choice, and that's where they had the event at the last second.
And do we know if Ms. Taylor's family has responded to what took place?
Not to this point. We haven't had contact with her family, but in the coming days, we hope to talk to them as we complete our investigation of this entire event.
You know, Mattingly has blamed Ms. Taylor's boyfriend, who heard someone banging on the door. Someone busted in, and he believed it was an intruder. And so he, using his right to bear arms, fired into the dark at what he thought was an intruder, hitting Mr. Mattingly. Mattingly has used that to essentially portray him as a criminal and Breonna Taylor as a criminal, and to make himself seem like a hero. This group seemed to agree that this person is a hero. Have they responded to the NAACP to explain why they are treating a police officer who killed an innocent young woman who'd done nothing, broken no laws, why they're treating him as a hero?
They haven't, and that's kind of the thing that we want to find out. They say that they want to have an open dialogue with somebody who was there at that night of the incident. Why not bring out Breonna's mother? Why not have other people that are there? So we want to find out why it was important for them to have Mr. Mattingly there and why this was a thing, because this is something that should have a different context. And having him to be there to promote his book or to talk about the situation, the circumstances, we feel it's very disgusting to be able to do that.
And I can tell you that there's a reason why we're not showing any images of the book. We're not going to try to help him sell a book off of all of this. My last question to you: do you know of any current elected officials who attended this event, who are sitting elected officials? We know that the Attorney General, the top law enforcement officer of your state, actually is the one who justified these shootings, only convicting one person or prosecuting one person who shot a bullet that wound up in a white residence apartment wall, and actually refused to even prosecute those whose bullets ended up in black neighbors' walls. He was very deliberate in saying just the bullet into a white patron's wall was the crime. Was he there? Was anybody else, any local officials there, Kentucky officials?
He was not there, and we have not been able to determine of any other local officials that were there. That's part of the investigation to find